story of A Clockwork Orange. Here's the protagonist and anti-hero of the story, Alex. He's also the humble narrator. He has a gang, he's the leader of a gang. These guys are called the Droogs. So you've got George, you've got Peter, and the dumb one is Dim. Him and his Droogs hang out in the Currover milk bar, drinking milk which is actually laced with drugs. The gang often engage in acts of ultra-violence, which they describe as good or horror show in the language Nadsat created by Burgess throughout the novel. So there's often mentions of gang rape, which Alex refers to as the old in-out, in-out. Furthermore, they engaged in violence against rival gangs, including Billy Boy here. Alex attacks rival gang member Billy Boy, saying it was real satisfaction to waltz left 2-3 and right 2-3, and carve left cheeky and right cheeky so that two curtains of blood seem to pour out at the same time. So, sorry Billy Boy, but you've just been attacked, you've got to go down. There is a change of setting as the Droogs find themselves in a country cottage. In this cottage, Alex and the Droogs attack this man here, F. Alexander, and rape and attack his wife. After they've been to the cottage, Dim is offending an opera, which Alex really likes, because Alex really likes music, which will come significant later. He really likes classical music, including Beethoven. But Alex attacks Dim. No, bye Dim. This is ridiculous. So Alex attacked Dim, who offended opera to regain power. Dim's back because they break and enter into this lady's house here, gang rape her, and then they get caught. We later find out that this female victim of gang rape and attack was killed. So Alex is sent to prison for the accidental killing of a person. Unfortunately, the police are merciless and oppressive, and they do everything in their power, which is quite a lot of power, to make Alex's life a living hell. Instead of spending time with the police, Alex prefers to spend time with the chaplain. Alex and the chaplain spend a lot of time together. Alex likes spending time with the chaplain due to the fact that he can read the Bible and listen to music. What the chaplain doesn't realise is that Alex is reading the Bible because he really enjoys the violence, sex and drinking in the Old Testament. This could draw upon Burgess's own views as a Catholic, because some say the focus on humanity as fundamentally inclined towards violence is rooted in the Catholic idea of original sin. Instead of spending his time with policemen, she's naked, don't look, Alex spends time with doctors who tried to reform Alex with something called Ludovico's technique, which was inspired by modern psychologists at the time. This is essentially brainwashing and torture, whereby he is conditioned to watch ultraviolence on a screen, which is Nazi ultraviolence accompanied by Beethoven. Alex is injected with all kinds of things that basically try to make him respond to ultraviolence with nausea and to make him feel sick every time he sees something really violent. Hearing the Beethoven be accompanied with such horrible torture makes Alex refer to it as a filthy, unforgivable sin. He hasn't used the word sin before, so it's showing the extent of this unforgivable act by the state and just how far they're willing to go to reform and repress and perhaps attack the individual. After he responds to violence with this extreme sickness, Alex is freed from prison. However, he's placed back into society, not a member of a gang, and unable to think freely for himself. Alex is walking along, minding his own business, when he sees some familiar faces. Dim and Billy Boy. Much to his surprise, these aren't just old faces. These are now members of the police force. Dim and Billy Boy badly attack Alex, and he's like, oh no, that really hurt, And they're like, And he's really, really hurt. So he's wandering around, trying to find somewhere safe to go. He comes across a country cottage. Ooh. So Alex is like, yay, a cottage, can't wait to go into the cottage. And inside the cottage we have a man called F. Alexander. Haven't seen him before, have we? F. Alexander is a political dissident. Oh my gosh, Alex, your story about Ludovico's technique is so sad. You know what? I could use you and your story to cause public outrage against the state. Then Alex is like, no, I'm tired of being exploited for other people's benefits. No, thank you. And he insults F. Alexander using Nadsat, which we established earlier is the language that Burgess made up. But then F. Alexander's like, oh my god, I remember Nadsat. That's the language you used that night when a load of thugs killed my wife. He has a little brainwave moment and he gets to the basement and he locks Alex in the basement. And Alex is like, what am I doing in the basement? And then he hears Beethoven. And obviously that drives Alex pretty mental because he's just been brainwashed and tortured and now his head hurts. So Alex tries to jump. He says he wants to kill himself. He says, had to do myself in, to snuff it, to blast off forever out of this wicked, cruel world. But the fall doesn't kill him. So Alex is in hospital. While he's in hospital, there's a political struggle, but unfortunately the state still succeeds. This shows the power of the state. The Ludovicio's technique is undone, so put the torture hat back on. And Alex is like, oh my god, I'm so happy to be here, I can be violent again. And he creates a new gang. So they're a lot like the Droogs, but let's just rip off the hats. So while he's off being ultra violent with his gang, he sees someone, he runs into an old friend. Hey, look, it's Pete. And Pete says, hello Alex, I'm all normal now. I have a normal family and a normal life. I have children. Do you have children, Alex? And then it leaves Alex with one thought. He thinks of his future family and his future son and decides he's grown tired of an ultra-violent life and that, you know what, he will reform in the end. Oh, it's a happy ending.